All right, everybody. Chapter 21 of The Mandalorian is here, and chef's kiss, another great episode. A filler episode, but it's leading up to a lot of really interesting things, especially given the foreshadowing that we get during the recap part of the episode, which totally has spoilers in it if you were paying attention, because then when you get to the end and it all pays off, you're like, oh yeah, now this all makes sense, some of the things that have been happening over the past few episodes, because we're definitely leading towards the rise of the New Order. It's that's not spoiling anything. That the time period is such that we're leading to that. So, we're going to be getting into all those things in today's episode. If you haven't watched it yet, don't watch my review yet because I don't do spoiler free. This is spoiler full. I'll be talking all the things. So if you don't want it spoiled, walk away now. You've had your opportunity. Give you a countdown from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, into my show notes for The Mandalorian Chapter 21, The Pirate. So we start this episode off with recaps, and the recaps are just all sorts of full of spoilers, especially the stuff about how Moff Gideon was taken off to be a prisoner, and we suspected that we don't know what happened to him, right? Because we never got confirmation of everything, and then we've got this girl who's working as part of the reprogrammed people, but then she killed off, or at least she mind wiped the old scientist. Like she's cleaning up, right? Like she's, taking care of loose ends, and that totally pays off in this episode because we find out, oh yeah, that's actually the case. Because not only was Moff Gideon never would we not ever get any sort of confirmation of him, we get a major dump at the end of this episode of, and I'm bookending this because it is important, and in the scope of this, we find out, oh yeah, not only did Moff Gideon never make a trial, there's no body, and oh well, there's more to that. There's more to that. We'll get into it. The main part of this episode is basically we're seeing the Mandalorians go from being exiles, the Conclave being exiles, to being having a home. So we start off on Miraro again, and we're here with Grief Karga. I almost started speaking in Spanish there for a minute. I was like, no, otra vez. We're back with Grief Karga, and the pirate captain they pissed off in the beginning is here, just sitting in orbit with his Corvette, Corian Shard. And he's given this speech to Grief about how, your man shot, blah, 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 blah. And Grief's like, your man shot first, and Corian Shard's like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to shoot first now. And Grief tries to bluff with New Republic patrols, but Shard's not having anything to do with that. Like, you're an independent planet. Cuts him off, starts raising the town from the skies. So Grief wants to get all of his people out to safety. So Grief is trying to make a bluff here, and it fails. Where he's like, oh, the New Republic's going to save us. And he's like, you're not part of the New Republic. You've never signed a treaty, and you're out here all alone. So guess what? Raining fire down on the town. So Grief tries to get those people to safety, and sends a message out. Now we're off to a beachhead with a New Republic stationing area, and we got the music. This is totally like a military encampment. We got Y-wings, X-wings. There's a bar. They're playing bar games, and our favorite old man pilot, Captain Carson Teva, and Grief is reaching out, humbly requesting your help. I don't request your aid lightly. If we fall, this place is going to turn into a pirate base, and I can't allow that to happen. And then as this is happening, we get one of the coolest cameos I think we've seen the whole season. I think out of all the seasons, this is the coolest cameo. Zeb from Rebels shows up, like for a brief moment, talking to Carson at the bar. This is amazing. Anyway, it's enough of a message that Carson's off to Coruscant, and here we see our traitorous girl, who's absolutely working for Moff Gideon, given the recap at the beginning and what we see at the end of the episode. The music gets all creepy as she recognizes Teva and turns away not to be seen. And then he goes into this office to requisition troops for this pirate infestation, and in walks our girl. And when asked, she's all casual about, well, Navarro never signed a charter. They're not a member planet. And that keeps the officer from actually requisitioning any sort of aid to the planet. And this is all part of their plan to destabilize everything because they need the new order to come into existence. Meanwhile, Grief's got his folks out in the desert, promising that help's going to arrive soon, but I don't know what help that's going to be. But Carson heads off to the Mando Conclave, and how he finds them is anybody's guess until you realize that R5 used to be a Republic droid, and that's how he found out. Um, the idea here is that he's just giving them information. He's like, Grief's your friend. You know, the New Republic doesn't care about the planet. They haven't signed a charter. They're blind to the Empire growing again. But I know that something's up. Something doesn't smell right. It's not your fight, I know, but I thought you should know. Which leads the Mando to, of course, want to get the people together to go on the warpath to save his friend. But it's more than that. He says here during his speech to them, Grief offered me attractive land on his world. So if we can help, our culture could flourish in such a place. And we see, I forget the other guy's name, Viz or Piz, I forget his name, but the other Mandalorian gets up, and you think he's going to be against Din Djarin, but he's actually like, they saved my son, Bo-Katan saved my son, they've nothing but help the cause, I vote yes, let's go. So the Mandalorian group is going, the conclave is going on the warpath. So everything here for the next chunk of the episode is just one big fight sequence, and it's really well done. We got more dogfighting. There's pirate ships. There's the big Corvette in the sky. There's fighting on the streets with the Mandalorians. It's really well done. It's all a lot of fun. There's some really good dialogue here of Grief calling the Mando and being like, "Be careful, they've got you outnumbered 10-1," and he's like, "I like those odds." Bo-Katan shooting on the Corvette. The scene where these guys are on the balcony of Grief's office shooting everyone down with a cannon, and the armorer walks in with her hammer and tongs and just starts going to town, beating everybody up. They take out the pirate captain, and Grief Karga cedes all the land from the Western Lava Flats to Bullet Canyon to the people of Mandalore and says, "You may not have a home planet, but you now have a home." So hell yeah. And then the armor calls Bo-Katan down into the sewers where they used to have their conclave, where her old forge was set up, and gives her a speech. Now, this is where we see that the armor is not above. It's really interesting here because she's starting to see the potential future for her people, which means she's finally seeing the reality, and she's willing to be flexible a little bit on the Mandalorian ways and the strictness, because she tells Bo-Katan, "Remove your helmet," and Bo-Katan's like, why? Why would I want to remove my helmet? You're just going to cast me out again." And she's like, "You need to trust me on this. Remove your helmet. Um, do you respect my station?" All this other stuff. So as Bo-Katan takes her helmet off, we get this speech from the armor. "Our people have strayed from the way. We are too few. We must walk together. All Mandalorians." And Bo-Katan's like, "I understand." But then the armor continues and says, "I was taught that the mythosaur exists only in legends, yet you saw it. This is a sign that the next age is upon us. Mandalore must come together. You, Bo-Katan, have walked both worlds. You are the one who can unite us." And you see Bo-Katan's face, right? Like she is now hook, line, and sinker a child of the Watch, right? But also the armor is not stupid. She realizes that their ways, the old ways, the helmet and everything else, it's not going to convince all these exiles to come out of hiding to join them. She needs Bo-Katan just as much as Bo-Katan needs her. And so she's willing to be flexible. And this is where I look at organized religion being willing to adapt to the times. The armor is absolutely adapting to the times. The whole creed, you can't take off your helmet, oh, that's going to go away now. Or at least it's slipping a little bit because she needs Bo-Katan to go out there and bring people back in. And the only way that's going to happen is if she's able to take her helmet off and appeal to the new generations of Mandalorians. So the armor is not stupid. But also this whole, you're going to be the one who unite us. She brings Bo-Katan out in the midst of the people without her helmet on, and they're all freaking out like she's taking her helmet off. She's not, she needs to be exiled. And the armor's like, no, she walks both worlds. She can bring our tribes together. She's going to go off-world to find those of us in exile to bring them here, to regroup. It is time to retake Mandalore. Whew, that's heavy, 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 heavy stuff as I yawn. Heavy stuff here. Now, that could have been the edge of the episode, but it's not. The end of the episode, I should say. But it's not, because next up, we've got Carson out in deep space, sees an Imperial shuttle drifting. I'm like, "What are you looking for, old man?" And he reports in. And he's like, Is there a missing craft? And yes, there was a missing craft reported. Details classified. Comes back over the radio. It was a New Republic prison transport. And he's like, I knew it. And he starts searching, and sure enough, it matches up with Moff Gideon's transport. Guy never made it to trial, and his body's not in here. And he literally says this had to have been an extraction. But wait a minute. And then he sees there's a piece of Bexar alloy embedded in the wall. So then there's a theory of, did the Mandalorians spring him from, you know, this prison transport? But remember, everything that Moff Gideon is doing is planned. And then there's the spear and all this other stuff. So just there's stuff happening. It's not over yet, but we are totally moving towards the new order. Great episode. A kind of a filler episode, but a lot of story stuff here that's moving towards what's coming down the pipeline. So all these other shows that are coming together that are of this time period. So a solid episode for me, 10 out of 10 as always. Loved it. Love to hear your thoughts. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, support if you can. Membership, super chat, super thanks, the Patreon page. Discord's down below if you want to come hang out with us, game with us. Till next time, everybody, stay safe. May the force be with you.